Hello, my name is Reece Mitchell, and today we're going to talk about getting a certification in Microsoft Excel using Udemy. And later we'll talk about why I chose this certification and how I'll use it in the future. Also, I'll talk about what I've learned in this course, and I'll give 3 examples of using this software, how you can use it, and then I'll talk about the pros and cons of Excel, and at the end I'll tell you if I recommend it. So the reason I chose Excel is because it's a popular business program. It's commonly used at many different variety of businesses through Microsoft Office. Um, it is used for decision making, and I already have a general knowledge of Excel, but I wanted to get into more of the advanced knowledge of it. So I decided to pursue a more difficult or challenging training program. Also, how I use it in the future, and I want to go for investment advising, is I want to use Excel to create personal budgets for clients and can also use Excel for client profiles. And along with that, for advising, I can study stock history correlations and use data analysis to study the fundamentals of the company. Okay, so now I'll take you over to the course link. Now I have the first link, which is just to the website in general, because there's all kinds of different Excel training courses you can get on there, but I also left my specific course link on here as well. So let's go to the website. Okay, so we're here on the Udemy main homepage, which is the first link that I put in the PowerPoint. So what I did is I just went here and I typed in Excel, and then it'll show up the most relevant first, or best sellers, which it indicates right here. I just kind of scrolled through there and I just decided, I'll just click this one. And then as I look through here, it'll give you a little description of it. There's 18 hours of on-demand video. There's 4 articles, 42 downloadable resources, which you follow along with the trainer. And if you do the buy option, you can actually own the course and keep it forever. So I decided to do that. Down here, you see that this is actually comprised of 4 different courses, as it indicates on this top section. So the first part was the introduction to Excel. Then later you get in a little bit tougher. You might know some of it already, or you might know all of it, depending on your prior knowledge of Excel. So you get into the intermediate. And then the tougher part was getting on the advanced level Excel and the master Microsoft Excel macros and VBA, which you follow along through the trainer in all these different sections. And he also gives you a preview of the course, which it'll be too long to watch because it's about 5 minutes long. But he just goes in and describes what each section is about, what you'll be learning, and give you a little super quick visualizations of what you can look forward to working with him on the course. And then requirements is no prior knowledge. That's probably because you start with the introduction, and then the different Microsoft Excel versions that are used in the training program. Now, earlier I was talking about how you can buy the course. If I was to go back and go to one that I don't already own, here you can either buy the course or you can subscribe to a free trial, but good luck getting it done in 7 days. And I mean, you could do it, but or you can do this $29.99 per month after 7-day trial. It's just up to you. I actually got it on a big coupon day, which it ended up being, I think it was like $29.99 for the whole course. But anyways, yeah, so that's why I just ended up buying it. So this is where my other link will take you. It'll take you directly to this Microsoft Excel from beginner to advanced. So as we go into the course, you can see that on the right pane there is a bunch of different sections, as I believe there's 42 sections, but not every one of them is super long. Some of them are just 1 minute, but anyways, in the first section it talks about Microsoft Excel 101, and he'll give you a little brief video of when you finish the first section, and then you'll start on section 102, which is the intermediate, and then 103, and then go to the macros of VBA introduction, and then the course wrap up, which he also gives a little brief description of everything here in the beginning.
I've been doing Microsoft Office training and really just software training for the past several years. About 20 plus years of experience in the classroom, online, and video training just like this right here. And I'm going to share a bit of advice for you that I've picked up over the years. Participate. Get into the course, follow along, download the exercise files, and ask questions. You see this little guy right here over my shoulder? Which way I go? Right there, right there, right there? Yeah, right there. All right. You see that? Right? You don't have to raise your hand to ask a question, but jump into the course and use the Q&A section of the course. Look for the Q&A below the video. Go into the Q&A board, ask your questions there, right? I do my utmost best to get in there and answer questions personally. I've also got a couple of assistants that get in there and help me with answering questions as well. So participate in the course, download the files, follow along with me, and ask your questions, right? The quicker that you can start to implement and start to use the features that you're learning, the quicker you're going to learn it, the faster you're going to become more efficient within Microsoft Excel, and get ready for that new raise that's coming your way. So participate in the course. Don't just sit back and open up your head and hope to absorb, but get in there and follow along with me. That's where the fun's going to come in. That's where you're going to start to learn and master the tool. So I'm excited for this. Hopefully you are too. Let's get into the course and start to master Microsoft Excel.
So what he's talking about in the question and answer is, this talks about just the overview of the course again on the first section, but you can go here to the question and answers, and you can just type in your questions, and you can see here that he answered here. I mean, he answers back, looks like, oh, well, well, I was going to say most of the time, I guess not. But you can type in your questions there. And then he's got a link to all the resources. So this is the resources for the first section for 101. You just follow along as he does the videos. You just use these pre-made Excel documents and you follow along with them. And I believe he has more for 102. Yeah. And he's got another one for 102. And he does for the rest of them as well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go over one of the examples of what I learned about in the first section of the course. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to make a simple table for a monthly budget. And we'll put in some bills. We'll say rent, phone, credit cards, food, and then let's say you put candy in there. Gotta have a budget for candy. Okay, so we'll put January 2021, February 2021. So something you notice here is that on January, it says, or it doesn't spell out completely January, and it doesn't fully spell out February. Well, it's because Excel automatically changes it to a value right here on the top, and so instead of having to spell it out every single time, it automatically just puts Jan and Feb. So I mean, you could change that in the options, but I'm just going to leave it. Another thing you could do is you can copy and paste or autofill is what it is, the rest of your data, because it tries to predict what you're wanting next. So here you can see it says March, April, May, June, and so forth. So we're just going to do March. We'll just do 3 months. So let's say rent is 1,000, phone is 125, food 200, or credit card 200. Let's see. Oh, 200 as well, and candy is 100. Let's see. Let's make this 150. Okay, and then something else you can do is you can just drag this across. Rent's probably going to be the same. Phone probably going to be the same. Credit card, let's say 1 month you spend more normal. Next month you spend a little bit less than February. Food, a little more, then even more. Candy, you're trying to cut back. So let's do that. Okay. So one of the most common functions in Excel is summing. So in order to start any function, you always have to hit equal, and then the function is sum. You just hit tab and it'll automatically open in parentheses for you. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can either click and drag to gather the data, or you can hit your up arrow and hit shift, and as you're holding shift, keep clicking through the rest of the data and hit enter. Okay, so now we want to copy that over, and what it does is exactly here it'll shift over to the next cell and it'll do the same thing. So it sums it all for you. That way you don't have to come in here, hit equals, do 1,000 plus 125 plus that plus that plus that. I mean, that would work too, but since it's a sum function, it makes it a whole lot easier because you just type in sum, highlight it, there you go. Then let's do a total here with a percent. So let's sum this as well. Okay, so see here we summed the rows. So we see rent for the last 3 months was total of 3,000, phone was 375, and so forth. So here on percent, what we want to do is we want to see how much rent was in total compared to the overall expenses in the last 3 months. So we'll say rent total divided by overall total. Now if I hit enter, you get a percent here. Let me go ahead and change all these to be percents in the future. Okay, you get a percent here, but what happens if you click and drag now? What's wrong here? So what's happening is it's trying to move down. So as you see here, it's the left one, and then it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, here it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there's nothing there. So what we have to do is we have to come in here, and I'll clear the data so it doesn't look bad. Okay, so you come in here, and as you make this second one, you want to anchor it to here. So what Excel's function is to put dollar signs on it. What you can do is hit F4 on a Windows key. I'm not really sure how to do it on Mac, but I know on Windows it's F4. And then now when you click and drag, there you go. You got it anchored to each one of those, and it stays on that bottom number. Okay, so now let's make it look a little bit nicer. So something you could do in here is this. If you want it in the middle, yeah, you could type it over here and put monthly budget, but I mean, you can't really get it to go the exact middle. Maybe if I would have put it here, but there's another way that Excel makes it center is you can highlight the area you want to make it center, and here in the alignment tool or ribbon, you can hit merge and center. And then you can format all the data. And something else that I thought was real interesting that I really like to do now is, so say you want this header to stand out, look different. So let's add a thick bottom border. Let's change the top to, let's go with light blue. Okay, so say you want this same exact style of your cells to be for the monthly budget. Instead of having to come in there and change this, which I know it's already ready and I can click these two buttons, you can highlight this. Here's called a format painter. Now if you click it once, you can change the format. Oh, now I got merge and center it. You can copy the exact format. See what it did there for me? But another way you can also do it is if you double click it, then you can click it as many times as you want, anywhere you want. But I only need to do it one time, so I just clicked it once. But I don't want that thick bottom border, so I'm just going to change it, and let's give it an orange. And then you can change this, change it to green, and there you have it. There is your little table. Okay, so what we're going to do for the second tutorial is something that we went over in the second section of my training. What we're going to do is we're going to combine two sheets into one pivot table. Normally you do a pivot table with all the data in a single worksheet, and then you'll put it onto the side, or you'll make a separate worksheet that has this data in it. We're going to connect customer info with order info. In order to do that, you need to have customer ID as our example. You need to have a unique symbol or criteria or attribute that will uniquely identify a set of rows that is in each data set. So this was given to me through our course, so we already have the unique data sets that match. So now we're going to use a tool called Power Pivot, but you need to add it first, and it's only available for versions 2016 and above, I'm pretty sure, but I know it's for 2019. So then hit options earlier, hit add-ins, and then go to manage Excel add-ins, go to COM or COM add-ins, hit go, and just check mark Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. Then just click OK. I'm just going to exit because I already have it. So you need to hit Control A to select all data, and you need to make it a table and give it a name. So you got a table design, and then customer info without any spaces, hit enter. You got order info, Control A to select all of it, table design again, order info, hit enter. Okay, so now we're ready to put it in Power Pivot. So click anywhere in the data set and go to Power Pivot and click Add to Data Model. And then that'll load in here. You see we got customer info. You can just exit, go to order info, click inside the data set, add to data model. Now you see we have order info, and then here's customer. And so now we need to connect them. So up here you have data view, which is just like Excel, but then we're going to go to diagram view. And for those of you that use Access, you'll kind of be familiar with what this setup kind of looks like. But for those that haven't, this is just all the columns that were in each worksheet by itself. So you see that here's the columns, and each one of these names will be in orders and customer info as it is here. Okay, so we said earlier that customer ID is what's going to link these two tables together. So we're going to click and drag to match them together. And this creates a one-to-many relationship. What that means is that for each customer, there's one unique ID. And then for each order, there can be multiple or many customer ID, multiple or many sales that have that same customer ID. The reason being is, say I go to Walmart and they give me a customer ID number, which I don't know, maybe they'll do it through my credit card. And so they have my customer ID number, and then I can go to Walmart hundreds of times. So I can have multiple orders that are through that credit card. And so that's what gives it a one credit card to many orders. Okay, so we can now, you can either just hit data view again or go back to, it won't matter which one you get out of. You can close out of it. Now it's time to make a pivot table. So you can click anywhere and then go to insert, pivot table, and it'll automatically highlight all the data for you. And then we have it selected for new worksheet already. Hit OK. All right, so now you still only see customer ID over here on the right with the pivot table fields. But we need to add the tables that we had earlier. And it's going to ask, do you want to create a new pivot table? Yes, we do. To use multiple tables in your analysis, a new pivot table needs to be created using the data model. Well, that's what we did earlier, so we're going to hit yes. And these three tables down here are relevant. Those are on other tables that were created throughout all these multiple sheets of Excel, but we're only going to use the top two. So we have customer info and order info. Hit that drop down menu, and here's all your columns or fields for both of them. So let's say we want to look at entries for the country. So we're going to click and drag to rows. And then you see you have Argentina, Austria, and USA down there. Or you can put it as the columns, but as you see, it kind of doesn't really match very good. You just kind of have to play around with pivot tables to see what looks the best. So now let's do orders. Let's do freight. Let's put it in values. Okay, so pivot table is pretty cool little feature for Excel because it'll automatically like sum or average or all kinds of stuff for you. So right there we have Argentina, and it summed up all the values that correlated with Argentina as 598. So we can also change that. So you click down here to values, and you just left click sum of freight and hit value. Well, what if we want the average freight? So we'll just hit average and then just click OK. And so the average freight for Argentina was 37.41 and such. But we want to clean that up a little bit. So what we can do is we can actually hit value field settings again, show value as, oh no, wrong spot, number format down here, and go to, let's make it number, decimal places 2, looks good, negative number like that. Yeah, let's not get into accounting or red colors. So okay, so it looks good. Got 2 decimal places, and it gives you a little sample up here. Click OK, OK, and now it's fixed it all for you. And then it averages on the bottom, and all it normally does a grand total, and so it averaged the grand total. So we can actually change that to average total. But yep, so there's your average freight for all the countries, and here's your overall average of all the countries together. Okay, so now this is going to be the third example of something that I learned in my Excel training. So we're going to go over if function, and function, and countif function, and also over name ranges. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a name range. So you normally could just hit sum, and then you can sum all this data, and then that'd give you 40,402. Well, what if we wanted to name the range all this right here. So what you can do is you can actually highlight cells B5 through B9, go up here to the top left, the name, and it's the name box. And you can name it week 1. So now we can go here, we can hit sum, start to type in week, and you can see that it says, pops up week 1, hit tab, close parentheses, hit enter, 40,402. But now there's a problem with this, because when you do that, it makes it an absolute value, just like how we did earlier. We had equals sum, well, yeah, sum of the, no, that's week 1, equals sum this plus this. We'll do that. Okay, 13,000, you drag across, it does that. But if you were to make one of these an absolute, you wanted to always sum for some random reason, O'Brien's week 1, you drag across, and it's still referencing that one. So let's undo that. So when you make a name range, it does the same type of structure. So if we were to copy this formula across, it's all 40,402. It's because it's always doing week 1. So that's the bad part about doing name ranges. But the good thing is you can go to multiple worksheets and you can just type in equals sum week 1 and close parentheses, and there you are, 40,402. So let's go back and let's undo. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now let's just continue the sum to make it look good. Okay, so now we're going to mess with if functions. If functions is it'll show you constraints, and it'll do true or false, and you can say what you want the cell to output whenever it is true or false. So we want our monthly goal of 34,000 up here, and so if the total for each cell for James, then Dunn, and Carey, and Smith, and O'Brien, if it is greater than or equal to monthly goal, then we want it to, ooh, I closed parentheses early. You hit comma to move on to the next constraint. If it is met, you want it to say yes. If it is not, you want it to say no. Now the reason you have to put the quotations is because it's a text string, so you have to put it in quotes. So yes, but now we want to drag and drop, but watch this. Yes, but that's not above 34,000. It's because it's still referencing that. Well, we want to reference F4 and then drag and drop. There we go. Now it fixed it. Now they all should be referencing that cell up there. So now we're going to do an AND function. So with an AND function, it only tells you true and false. So if we click this little function over here, it says checks whether all arguments are true and returns true if all arguments are true. That makes no sense. So what happens is we can do a nest of functions. So if an AND function, we want this to equal yes, equal yes. But what if we also want each week, in order for them to get a bonus each week, they always have to have above 8,000. So we'll do and a min function, which a min function is it returns the minimum for each value. So we'll do a min function, and we'll highlight all these cells. We'll close that parentheses, and then we'll say it has to be greater than or equal to 8,000. So now we're back to our if function. And if the value is true, we want to say, we'll say bonus. If the value is false, we want to say no bonus. Should have done better. Just press enter. We see this is above 8, 8, 8, 8. Bonus status, bonus. Okay, let's copy it down. No bonus. Oh, we see, yeah, that's below 8. That's below 8, no bonus. Okay, what about this bonus? All above 8. So we know our formula is correct and it looks the same. Okay, so now, lastly, current number of salespeople who have reached their goal. Now we can use a count function, and this will count all your functions that meet a specific criteria. So the first thing is we need the range. So we're going to highlight this and put the criteria as yes. Close the parentheses and 3. We see that there are 3 yeses up here. That's true. And their answer is 3. Now, you're probably wondering, well, I could just type in 3. Well, what if you have hundreds of data or thousands of rows and columns and you don't want to manually input it? So you can just do a formula that'll do it for you. Same for this here. I mean, making yes and no. If there's hundreds of different salespeople, you don't want to go through there and have to manually input all of this data to see if it's above 8,000 or if they met the month ago 34,000. So you want to make a function that'll do the work for you to make it easier. So now we're going to talk about the pros about this training course. So I really like this course because it was real thorough. He went along with you pretty slow and you never really felt like you were falling behind, even just watching the videos, doing it at the same time. Now you could always go back if you didn't understand something and rewatch it, but he did it well enough where I never really had to go back and rewatch it. He was clear to understand, I could hear him well, and he broke up the sections in a superb way of how he organized the categories. Now the cons though is it was an 18-hour course, and I mean, it wasn't like torturous, but it definitely was, it was a long course. And he talks really, really, really slow. So probably why it was 18 hours, but I had to speed up the playback time. And then the cost is normally, at least I think, pretty expensive. I got it for $29.99 because it was on sale. Don't know how often that even happens, but yeah, I thought it was pretty expensive. Recommend? Yes, I do, because that was a very, very good course, and I learned a lot from Excel that I have never even thought there was in Excel. I mean, I thought I knew a whole lot to begin with, but nope, this really blew my mind, and it was a really good course. So, thank you for watching this presentation, and hope you might go pursue a training in Microsoft Excel. All right, bye.